Altered Carbon Episode 1, Out of the Past. So this, of course, is the newest Netflix original series. I saw the trailer probably a month or two ago. I feel like I didn't know it was coming out this soon. Like, I feel like I just, recently discovered the show from the trailer. I only may have seen it, twice. And I was like, okay, that seems really, really cool. It seems like it's basically trying to be Blade Runner, the Netflix series. And I was like, I'm totally fine with that. It seems like it's more, action oriented than the drama of Blade Runner, and I haven't seen the most recent one because I didn't really care that much, so I don't know how action packed that one is. But I was like, okay, it seems like it's more, action based. It's definitely that, futuristic deal. They even have it where it's like clearly this was meant to be Blade Runner because they even have it where people speak different languages to each other, and so far some of it is like, okay, that's obviously Spanish, and then some stuff would be like, all right, I'm pretty sure that was Japanese, but there's a lot of stuff in there where it's like, I'm not sure what that is. Granted, it could just be any language that I'm not familiar with, but a lot of it was like, okay, they're randomly doing subtitles and stuff. I was like, this is Blade Runner, but I'm totally fine with it. I think it's a cool concept to utilize as basically like the setting for your show. They talk about how, much like with Blade Runner, people are familiar with being from different planets or living on different planets. The really big thing with this is, instead of it being basically androids that can kind of blend in, it's that people can die, but they can come back to life as long as pretty much their memory disk is placed into another body or sleeve. I was like, okay, that's a cool concept. I love the idea from the trailer itself, where it's like, you have this guy who hires the main character, and it's like, I want you to solve a murder, and it's mine. I didn't really know the context for that at all from the trailer, but I was like, all right, well, I don't think this is a ghost. I don't think it's a hologram, kind of like sort of iRobot sort of deal. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the actual guy is there, but somehow he wants him to solve his death. So I was like, what does that even mean? So they explain that pretty fast. It's like, all right, people can be put into sleeves. Your memory, as long as the actual disk isn't destroyed, you can just be put into any body, however many number of times. If you are insanely super rich, like the guy that does end up hiring our main character, you can possibly even have have your entire memory sent to the cloud, and he has that happen to his memory sent to a satellite every 48 hours. So I like the idea of just the way this world plays out. Like, we see our character and the way they do a couple flashbacks, and I'm really curious how the rest of this season is going to play out, because they do it, especially like the first half of this episode, they do it pretty consistently. And so we have the last body of this character, but that wasn't the only body that he had. That wasn't, the first or second. Like, when they show the list come up, it shows, I think, 7 different bodies. When he's like, oh, you've been been a terrorist and this and that, I assume that those were the different bodies that the person went through. So I was like, all right, well, that's interesting. And we see the last body and how he died and stuff. And so they have that as it goes throughout the episode, and we see that he has like this weird ability to see through walls. Like, they even kind of make a joke about it. It was like, oh, what can you see through walls? Because I thought it was the technology that he had at first, and it allowed him to see it because like it was his place or something, and it's linked to him. But they talk about it, throughout the episode, like, oh, these people, I forgot the actual name, but they're supposed to have like this intuition and stuff like that. They're supposed to be insanely dangerous, and he definitely is, which they kind of show off at the end, where he ends up going up against the people that kind of get him in the AI love hotel. And I was like, okay, so they're beating him up at first, and he's just kind of waiting, and he knows what's going to happen because they start playing the audio back. And I was like, I think I know what he's about to do, because they talk about how the AI basically stalks you. It's like, once you are there, they're programmed to make sure you stay as a client. And so I was like, I feel like he's gonna sign up and have like basically like a bunch of robot robot whores come in and kill him. But instead, it was just like 2 Gatling guns came out, and the guy behind the counter pulled out a shotgun. So I was like, okay, well, that's very interesting. And I assume that guy was actually human, but the way he was talking, it made him seem almost like a robot. Like, it seemed like he was repeating himself. So I was like, I can't even tell if he's a part of the AI thing or if he's actually the owner, but I'm pretty sure he was like the actual owner. And that was another thing where they don't really touch on it, but I have to assume that people, they naturally age in the bodies that they're in, because especially when the main, and I suck at names for anyone who's just finding my channel, so I got like no names for this first episode, but the main character, as he's leaving, they have this older woman, and she says like, mom. And at first I was like, it must have been 2 different characters, and I was like, that would be weird. And then it was like, no, they put like this 7-year-old girl in like this older woman's body, and it's like, well, that sucks. Like, she got screwed over, and that was just like the victim restitution, I believe is what they said, and they just kind of throw them whatever random sleeves that they have, and it's like, this is our 7-year-old daughter, and you put her in like a grown woman's body. And it's like, well, either pay for an upgrade or she can, go back on ice. And it's just like, wow, that's an interesting sort of thing that they have. And then of course they have the concept of religion and spirits going to hell if anyone's ever brought back to life, things like that. So they touch on that, and just the whole concept of where the world is and how we have this character who's hundreds upon hundreds of years old because he's been around during like this crazy war, and he was around during like the first time people actually knew about like this great tree when he goes to the actual place that he's been hired by, or I guess bought by technically. And he meets the wife of the man that hired him, and it's like this crazy tree, and she's like, records indicate they used to be like this, and he's like, I know, I've seen them before. So I was like, all right, there's still a lot of mystery. They don't, they throw like a million hints, but he's had so many lives, it's almost like there's a million questions. So they give so many hints, but it still doesn't give you the whole story because he's lived for such a long time. And I thought that was a cool idea. So it can kind of keep you questioning, like, all right, well, who did he meet during this life, and what was he doing during this life? And he was, he's known as like this huge terrorist, but was that always the case? They went in, and like a big thing is that they would be dropped in different bodies all the time. So it's just a very interesting concept where it was like he's seen as this terrorist, but the way they like the cop character, the way they have her explain it is that was kind of what they were meant to do, was drop into different bodies as like a military group. But he came off, at least at this point, he comes off as a terrorist. So I was like, well, that's interesting. Like, is it just perspective, or like was it legitimately they were always bad guys, or did they used to be good guys and stuff? And they fought, they mentioned like they fought wars to stop basically the super rich guy in the episode from pretty much existing. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on that it's the first episode, so they don't explain everything. Then we do get an introduction to the fact that the main character did have a sister, and I assume that she's dead. I don't know if the sister character that we see when he's sitting on the dam is the same woman that is played by the black actress at the end of the episode, but it seemed like that was a love interest, and then the other woman was his sister. So it was a little hard to tell because otherwise why would he see his sister as two different bodies, that sort of thing. So it was like I'm assuming that she died a long time ago, or maybe he doesn't even know where she is. So I'm curious how that's gonna play out, especially because I saw the actress in the trailer, so I'm pretty sure we'll legitimately get to see her character show up, and it'll be like, oh crap, I didn't know you were here. But I don't know if that's the case. So, it was a trailer, so that could have been him just thinking about her again. But he's lost a couple people, he's had a couple faces, so we'll kind of see that build up throughout the season. So I'm looking forward to it. I think this was a pretty good first episode. I think it was definitely interesting going through. They have so much lore, and it seems like they're doing a fairly decent job. A million questions right off the top, and it's like, okay, I think the pacing for it is pretty good. Everyone's in this weird middle ground where everything's kind of changed so much over time because of this crazy war that people still don't like each other 100%, but it's like, whatever, it's been 250 years, I've died a million times, you've died a couple times, and it's kind of just like everyone still doesn't like each other, in certain areas of life, but it's just like, we got to deal with it, so be it. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this show. Of course, with this being a Netflix show, I'm curious how popular it's going to be, how many seasons they might do, or how this season's going to wrap up. But I think it's definitely a great start. If they don't end up solving, the actual crime by the end of this season, I guess that'll be like the whole story, or maybe it'll just go to him doing, something totally different in the next one. But I thought it was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to getting some more answers on this character, seeing some of the other lives that he's had. So I think it's a pretty good show. My next review for this will be like the season finale. It'll be like just a full season recap. So that's how I'm kind of doing my Netflix shows now. It's just first episode and very end, unless it's like very special stuff like the Marvel Netflix shows. I'll do like every episode, but for everything else, beginning and end, and that's just pretty much how it is, except for Voltron as well. When Voltron comes back, that gets every episode. But this is a pretty good first episode, at least as far as I'm concerned. Of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. I would love to know your predictions, if you have any at this point. Where do you think it's going? How is this going to end up playing out? What do you want to see from this? I mean, he's got a million lives. They got to, choose a million different actors. So we'd love to know what you guys want to see and what predictions you have, kind of just going forward as well. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.